We sat in a restaurant opposite the family court. Can't I really eat my lunch in peace, Laura? I just want another chance to talk you out of a huge mistake, Dave. If you continue down this stupid path, Dave interrupted. Do you really want to air our dirty laundry in public, Laura? Do a dozen people sitting within earshot really need to know about our affairs? I don't care who hears us, Dave. We could have talked calmly in my lawyer's office as many times as we wanted over the past 6 months. But no, you had to refuse after you became so sarcastic and stubborn. Why the hell wouldn't I be angry about what you did to me? We've been married for 12 years. 12 years old. And then I found out that you never loved me. I was only a convenient donor of material for our 2 children and, well, a source of funds. Let's not forget about that. Dave snorted. Let's just call me Dave's bank. Laura left this harsh remark unanswered. It was true, after all, and she was human enough not to be proud of that fact. In the silence that followed, both interlocutors thought about their own things. Dave thought about what an unspeakable nightmare his once happy life had become. One day, before lunch, he was sent off work due to illness. Seeing Laura's friend, Karen's car in the driveway, made him feel even worse. This woman never seemed to know when it was time for her to leave. As he let himself into the house, he was greeted by the sounds of grumbling and groaning coming from above. As he walked up the stairs, he saw Karen having sex with Laura in their marital bed. From shock, he lost his tongue for a couple of moments. The silence did not last long, and then he was screaming with rage when a clearly unrepentant but gloomy Laura and a smug Karen told him to wait downstairs. I still can't believe what you told me that day, Laura. That you've been in love with Karen since college, and your one and only true soulmate was her. But you wanted children, and you needed someone who could support you and them. You wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and as you very nicely told me, damn, Karen needed some extra income. What a fool I was for not noticing that most of my salary goes to support your girlfriend. You never loved me, Laura? I was just a donor of material and a food stamp, wasn't I? No, don't just nod. But, damn it, admit it out loud. Acknowledge your choice. I want you to look me in the eye and say it. Okay, Dave. I admit it. I only loved Karen. She only used you to get children. You were the best candidate. The best candidate? Did you choose me? Who the hell were the other candidates? Dave muttered. Keith Davenport and Eric Jensen. Dave was stunned by how accurate Laura was. Keith? Eric? Why didn't you choose one of them? Why me? Keith and Eric are players, but you don't. You have always been honest and trusting. What you see is what you get. Karen thought that your gullibility would help us avoid being deceived. Well, she was right about that, Dave muttered sourly. Meet Dave, the dream of a swindler, or, in your case, a swindler. Yes, it is. Look, I'm not particularly proud of what we did, but you have to remember that the world was a different place when we got married. Women living together and having children was still frowned upon. Dave raised an eyebrow, his expression turning sarcastic. Okay. I admit it. It's not just about society and the desire to have children. I wanted a lifestyle that you could provide that neither Karen nor I could ever afford. Laura lowered her eyes in shame. Dave raised his head in anger. So, Karen has a key to our house? Yes. And how often did she come and have sex with you in our bed? Not very often, to be honest, Dave. Mostly it was me who came to her apartment. And had sex? Laura sighed. No. Made love, Dave, in an apartment that I, unknowingly, paid for. Yes, Dave. Laura lowered her eyes. Confronting all her actions like this was very awkward. At heart, she had always considered herself a decent person, trapped in her behavior by a society that did not know what minorities like her and Karen were subjected to on a daily basis. So you never really loved me, Laura? Even at the very beginning? No, sorry, Dave. I love Karen. I like you, Dave, and I respect you completely. But I'm sorry, I can never love you. Something in the expression of Dave's jaw, the cold fury in his eyes, made her twist the knife just a little more. Actually, at first I hated sex. I wanted to vomit. I probably deserve an Oscar for my role, but after a couple of years it stopped mattering. Our whole damn life is just a scam organized by you and your mulatto girlfriend. Dave allowed himself to enjoy the flash of anger in Laura's eyes when he used the derogatory term. If this is fucking respect, then I wouldn't want to see what disrespect looks like. Despite her anger, Laura did not look at Dave, but this did not stop him, and he continued, "You really are something special, aren't you, Laura?" This was the final insult for Laura. Yes, she felt damn guilty, but the anger that had been simmering during their conversation flared up again and washed over her like a tidal wave. "Just shut up, Dave. The trial is in less than 15 minutes, and I want to get a point across that thick skull of yours before we have to go back." Dave threw his hands up in surrender, forgetting about his lunch. "What do you want, Laura?" "I want us to get back to normal, Dave. Normal, like if I went back into the house and turned a blind eye to you having sex with Karen. And it's normal. Pretend to our sons that we have an ordinary marriage, like their friends' parents. Well, no, Dave. Now that you know, we can stop pretending that I like straight sex. You can move into the spare room, and Karen can move in with us." "Not a damn thing like that, Laura. What kind of weakling do you take me for? Someone who has no choice, Dave." Laura smiled. It wasn't pretty. "You have exactly two options. Live a normal life. Well, almost normal. Live with your children. I will be banned, but everything else will be exactly the same as before. Or walk across the street to the courthouse. Make an idiot of yourself and see how it all ends." Laura didn't wait for Dave's answer. "We got Judge Reynolds out, damn it." Throughout his entire career, he never once took the side of his husband, no matter what his wife did. "He will give me the house, and you will pay all the utilities. He'll make you keep me on your insurance, and you'll pay all the deductibles. I have never worked, so he will assign me alimony, which in CZ will be equal to the GDP of a third-world country. And all the while, you'll be living in a shoebox at the county dump, wishing you had enough money to afford macaroni and cheesy." By this point, Laura's face was red with anger. Dave bowed his head at the table and feigned defeat. Looking at her watch, Laura decided to play her trump card. "And what about your boys, Dave?" "Your precious sons. You will be allowed to see them 1 weekend a month, or as the court decides. But you know what, Dave? It is on this weekend that they will be sick, or playing football, or will be unavailable for any of 1,000 other reasons that I will try to come up with." Laura paused and took a few breathless breaths before continuing. "And all this time I'll be making love to Karen in your bed, and you won't even be able to afford a date. Come on, Dave, be reasonable. I have a lawyer in court for $3,000 a day, and you represent yourself. Why completely ruin your life? Why, if we can go back to what it was, nothing much will change." Dave looked up, his eyes sparkling. "Nothing except that I will live with a complete lack of pride. I won't be able to look my sons in the eye." He stopped and shook his head. "Tell me, Laura, you reminded me that you never worked. Even when the boys were old enough to go to school and I asked you to look for a job and help pay the bills, you never did. Was that your plan all along? Put yourself in a good position in case I ever discover your sneaky little secret and you need the leverage that non-working spouses get in a divorce?" "Yes," Karen suggested it. "Besides, we could see each other during the day." "Oh, and the penny has dropped. So that's why she only worked as a waitress in the evenings so she could spend all day, every day with you, while I worked hard to provide for the family and pay the difference for her apartment, which she couldn't afford with minimum wage and tips. Look at it this way, Dave. If she moved in with us, it would save you a lot of money." Laura looked at her watch, but Dave spoke next. "Why do you want to stay married, Laura?" "Because boys need a father, Dave." And then, as if by the way, "And I don't want to see you destitute and empty, Dave. You are a good person and do not deserve the storm that will fall on you if you do not complete the program. So, nothing can be done about the fact that the boys refuse to stay in their own house when their mother's girlfriend spends the night. They will stay with Mom and Dad. Did you really think that I didn't know, Laura? Or is it that you're rapidly losing all your girlfriends who leave you when your disgusting behavior becomes public? Is this because our priest has asked you to stay away on Sundays? Does this sound familiar to you, Laura? Laura just shrugged and looked at her watch again. Time to go. What do you say, Dave? I'll say. See you across the street, bitch. Laura sighed in disappointment, stood up and walked back to the court. The divorce hearing ended after 47 minutes and went about as Laura had expected. Judge Reynolds ranted about husbands who refused to participate in counseling, how stay-at-home mothers are saints who must be protected, and protected from evil husbands who disdain such outdated concepts as fidelity. Karen was jubilant when alimony was awarded. It was even higher than Laura's lawyer had predicted. Laura was even a little upset. Dave really was a good guy. She was already thinking about not cashing a couple of checks so Dave could intervene with the kids and maybe the best friends she'd lost. She looked across the room, expecting to see a devastated expression on her ex-husband's face. But instead, she saw... what? A pity. Why would he feel sorry for her? Everything should be the other way around. At that moment, she heard a voice behind her. Mrs. Laura Brown, a.k.a. Thompson? Laura turned around and saw two uniformed policemen. Yes, officers. You are under arrest on a charge of fraud and violation of sections 257A and 258 of the State Penal Code in that you have dishonestly obtained a benefit by fraudulent means. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to a lawyer. His boring recitation was interrupted by Karen bursting in from the public gallery. What the hell benefit did she get? The second policeman spoke. Alimony, child support, free housing, and that's just a few of them. Are you Karen Smith? At that moment, Karen rushed to the door. Hello, Dave. I feel like you should know me, and I'm sure I know some of you. The memory of Judge Usher, alerted by shouts from the police, capturing Karen as she ran through the courtroom door, still makes me smile. The fact that she slammed her head into the heavy oak wall as his arms wrapped around her ankles was just a bonus. Satisfying my sense of justice, it turned out that lying and deception in themselves are not crimes, but financial gain from them is already a crime. All this is called fraud, a general category of criminal behavior that involves the use of dishonest or deceptive means to obtain improper advantages or benefits to others. When I first learned that Laura was, well, I can't think of a word to describe her behavior, let's just say, plan for life, I was understandably devastated. Devastated by my naivety and the possibility of losing my sons. I did what any normal guy would do. I got drunk. And then I got lucky. While I was telling my story to my friend Jono, another couple at the bar overheard my story. Tom and Mike were holding a wake for Tom's marriage at the same bar Jono and I were at. That day, Tom's divorce was finalized, and he became Judge Reynolds' latest victim. Tom wanted to hurt someone, and my story gave him a way out. You see, Tom and Mike are state detectives. Jono. Tom and Mike dragged me home, and the four of us began plotting. The financial fraud of Laura and Karen consisted in the fact that the women supported themselves exclusively at my expense. All this was not quite as we would like, and with rather weak evidence. That's why we needed them to win our divorce case. Laura's clear admission of intent to deceive me, recorded by Tom sitting at the next table in the restaurant with a tape recorder, and Judge Reynolds' decision, which he rendered, allowed for the proof of intent, dishonesty, and profit. Laura's lawyer tried to argue that the recorded conversation was legally void. The judge ruled that Laura herself gave permission for the recording with the words, "I don't care who hears us, Dave." After regaining consciousness, Karen was handcuffed to a hospital gurney. Laura posted bail for her, but Karen fled almost immediately. Our little group had been expecting this, and Jono and I took turns watching her apartment. Tom was waiting for her 200 kilometers from home, on the state border, and Karen was left in custody until the trial. Laura exploded upon learning of Karen's betrayal. Her mistress was her main witness, as well as her supposed soulmate. Laura stopped supporting Karen, whose lawyer convinced her to plead guilty, which undermined the strength of Laura's case. The judges in both cases were outraged by this disgusting behavior, and both women received 5-year prison sentences. Laura's sentence was extended by 6 months when she struck Karen when she first met her in the exercise yard of a women's correctional facility. She was not even allowed to attend the second family court hearing where everything was returned to me. By the time Laura was released, a disappointment to me, 4 years later, I was already married again to Tom's beautiful sister, whom my boys call Mom. I asked them if they wanted to visit their birth mother in prison, or even if they wanted to have anything to do with her after she was released. But every time she was mentioned, I received the same indifferent shrug. Laura increasingly persistently sought to meet with them, but in the end she always left, sobbing and remaining alone. No matter how painful and difficult it was, in the end, I became a wiser person. And much happier. Please like and subscribe to the channel and you will never be cheated on.